Winning isn't everything. It's the only thing. Unless you're Jake DeGrom. During an April 2021 game against the Marlins, Jake DeGrom struck out 14 batters, didn't walk one, and allowed just one run in 8 innings. And he lost. Well, at least the Mets did. An outing like that, you can call it a waste, Mets manager Luis Rojas said after. Turns out there's been a lot of waste when it comes to the Mets ace, and it might be his entire career. So today, let's answer the question, why are the Mets trash when Jake DeGrom pitches? As my father says, every April, hope springs eternal. And with today's video sponsor, DraftKings, you don't need to rely on hope to win big, even if you're a Mets fan. On DraftKings, there are daily fantasy contests with millions of dollars in prizes up for grabs every week. What you need to do is download the DraftKings app, draft 10 players, use your savvy baseball skills, field a lineup that doesn't go over the cap at $50K in salary, and then watch as your squad dominates and you win cash. Personally, I'm gonna field Francisco Lindor every week because that's how I roll. So after this video, head on over to DraftKings from the link below and use my code 5points to let them know that Baldy sent you. Again, download the DraftKings app from the link below, use my code 5points at sign up, and make it rain. But only if we're playing at a park with a retractable roof. Let's find out a little bit about Jake. DeGrom went to Stetson University in Florida and was a shortstop who was converted to a pitcher. He hit his first home run of his college career off some guy named Chris Sale. As a pitcher, he often drew no decisions and had to rely on his own bat to drive in runs. And he didn't actually win much at Stetson. Sound familiar? Fast forward to 2010. DeGrom was selected 272nd overall by the New York Mets, and after a few years of seasoning, became the team's ace, winning the Cy Young in 2018 and 2019. But like at Stetson, the Mets weren't winning as often as they should when he pitched. His first Cy Young season, DeGrom posted a 1.70 ERA, the best in the majors and the lowest ERA since MLB lowered the mound in 1968. And yet DeGrom went 10-9, and those 10 wins were the fewest ever by a Cy Young Award winner. 2019 saw more of the same, otherworldly numbers but not enough wins to show for them. DeGrom had just 4 wins at the All-Star break before finishing the year 11-8. It's not just the no decisions either, it's any time he starts. Since he began DeGrominating in 2018, he started 82 games. 65 of those are considered quality starts, meaning at least 6 innings pitched with no more than 3 runs allowed. The average baseball team wins 78% of their quality starts, but when DeGrom takes the mound, the Mets are 36-43. How? Let's figure out why DeGrom, despite being one of the best pitchers of his generation, has struggled to win games throughout his career. In September of 2020, at the time, DeGrom set a career high with 14 strikeouts, allowing just 4 hits and 2 runs against the Rays. The problem was his offense was just as bad as he was good, getting just 4 hits and scoring just 1 measly run. I needed to put up zeros, and I wasn't able to do that, DeGrom said after the game. It's natural for a competitor to blame himself anytime he loses, but is there any objective truth to Jacob DeGrom being at fault when he pitches? The best way to separate a pitcher from the team around him is to focus on the 3 true outcomes: strikeouts, walks, and home runs. Things that his team cannot f up for him. This is represented by a stat called FIP, Fielding Independent Pitching. In 2018, DeGrom's FIP was 1.98, the best in the MLB, as well as the lowest home runs per 9 innings at just 0.4. Those numbers have risen across the last 2 seasons, but still well above average. Translation, in terms of what DeGrom can control, he is as good as it gets. There's really only one damning statistic we can pin on DeGrom, that's his clutch percentage from 2019. In high leverage situations, meaning more runners on base in the later innings of close games, DeGrom had a clutch score of minus .60, which may explain the 4-7 record to start that season. When the three true outcomes are eliminated, that leaves line drives, fly balls, and ground balls. We could use the Mets' fielding percentage when he's on the mound, but that's not a great judge of the defense behind him. A far more telling metric we can use is batting average on balls in play, or BABIP. Whenever a batter hits a DeGrom pitch into the field of play, their batting average is .290, around 10 points lower than the average BABIP across the majors. Am I saying BABIP right? We're gonna go with it. His hard hit percentage, balls hit at an exit velo of 95 miles an hour or more, is about 29.3%, which is 5% better than the entire league. So get this, the 290 BABIP and the 29.3 hard hit percentage lines up just about perfectly, telling you that over his career, Jacob DeGrom has had an average or slightly better than average defense around him. Okay, so let's look at the obvious culprit, the Mets offense. Teams only win 11.5% of the time when they score 2 runs or fewer in a game. Duh. That stat loomed large in 2018 when DeGrom started 12 games where his offense scored 2 runs or fewer. The Mets lost all 12 of those games, and 7 of those games were within 2 runs, meaning the opposition scored no more than 4 runs. Now get this, overall since 2018, DeGrom has gotten just 4.1 runs of support per start, which is the 3rd lowest of any pitcher in the MLB during that span. A half a run fewer than the league average of runs scored per game. In 2018, that number was particularly low, with the Mets only crossing home plate 3.81 times every time DeGrom took the mound. Every season since 2018, however, the Mets have had a higher average runs per 162, meaning they can score, just not when DeGrom is on the mound. Okay, so that's all the factors. Oh, we forgot to mention the Mets bullpen.
God damn it!
Are they responsible for DeGrom's losses? No, but they are responsible for his lack of wins and his no decisions. 31 times since 2018, the Mets bullpen have cost DeGrom a chance to come away with the victory. That's really just epically bad and a reflection on how often his team has let him down. And it all adds up to one thing. After we examine the main statistical factors, here's what I think. When we look beyond the numbers, things start to change. We can't quantify the psychology of the players, but when DeGrom takes the mound over the years, a certain tightness amongst his teammates has developed. They know they need to score runs for Jake, and then it becomes all they think about. And then they aren't scoring runs. The opposition picks up on it too. Opposing starters know they have to bring their A game against DeGrom. On April 10th, 2021, he faced Trevor Rogers, who had an ERA in the 6s the year prior, and he went 6 innings and K'd 10 batters of his own, giving up only 3 hits and no runs in his best career outing. You can find countless examples of this. There are also little things. DeGrom likes to have his outfielders play deep as he doesn't want to give up cheap hits in front of him. However, this can end up burning him as that's not always statistically the right defensive alignment. So, in the end, the Mets have one of the greatest pitchers ever, and still not being able to win when he pitches, well, that's the most Met thing ever. Go get him, Jake.
And Jake slashes one to left field for a base hit, and that'll bring in the game's first run. Davis scores. McNeil to third. He'll be held up there. Opposite field double for Jacob DeGrom, and the Mets have a 1-0 lead.